Hey guys, what's up? It's Joe Raiti from Raiti's Rise. We're back here at Walker Ford, and guess what? I have that new special edition of the mighty Bronco. It's this vehicle right here. This is a 2025 Ford Bronco Stroppe Edition. But before we get into this two-door special truck, let's talk about what's going on here. So the Ford Bronco, it's been around since 1966, and obviously many different iterations over the years. And then of course, because of a certain car chase, a very slow car chase, the Bronco disappeared from existence. Well, when it came back, Ford did it right with the big Bronco because you're getting a very cool retro style theme, but with a lot of modern touches. Now, you've been able to get your Bronco a two-door, a four-door. You can get one with a twin turbo V6, that inline four turbocharged engine, or the mighty Bronco Raptor. But for 2025, this is the only way to get a two-door Bronco with the twin turbo V6. But why don't we go ahead, let's dive into this Stroppe Edition and see, is it the one to own for 2025? Let's go ahead, let's dive in and find out. Right off the bat, you're getting a color combo that only if you know the history of the Ford Bronco will you understand what is going on with the mixture of colors. It all comes down to a guy by the name of Bill Stroppe, hence the name Stroppe Edition. Bill Stroppe is basically the Carroll Shelby. What Carroll Shelby was to the Mustang, Stroppe was to the Bronco, and he really took the Bronco to new performance levels, especially in those off-road races, the Baja 500, the Baja 1000, and Ford wanted to honor that with a special edition in his name. So what are you gonna find? At the front of the business, of course, you're gonna still get that very unique retro but modern style headlight design, LED daytime running lamps, LED headlights. The LED daytime running lamps are in white light. Remember, the Bronco Raptor is the only one that has the orange daytime running lamps. That's one way to tell if one's coming at you. There's a lot of other ways, but that's one way that kind of hits you smack dab in the face. Now, you're gonna get this frosted white grille. This white is actually different from the white that's on the rest of the vehicle, and I'll explain why in a second, but they went frosted white to really take the look of that classic Baja off-road racing Stroppe that Bill Stroppe raced. And with this special edition, that's why it looks the way it does. Now, besides the frosted white, you're gonna get code orange. And it's interesting because code orange is usually reserved for the Raptor editions of the different Ford vehicles, but they felt to try to get that perfect color combo, code orange was the way to go. Because if you look at the classic Bronco that Bill raced, it was orange, but it wasn't called code orange. So they had to use a color that was in the palette that's close to the color from the past. Now, on the Stroppe Edition, you are gonna get your stamp steel front bumper. Love the way they hollow out the corner here. You could actually attach rigid driving lights if you wanted to and have that space already set up. You are gonna get the code orange recovery tow hook areas. And then as we come through the front, you'll notice that opening here. This is because we have that turbocharged V6 power. Active aero shutters open and close to bring less or more air in for the heat exchangers. And then of course, you're gonna get full metal skid plates along the belly of this beast, protect the transfer case, protect the oil pan, all those goodies underneath, and the fuel tank, of course. Now you have well over 10 inches of ground clearance. And what's interesting is that this is not just a color or sticker special edition. There are some things that I'm gonna show you that actually will make this Bronco perform much different than the rest of them. But love the way that they did the code orange and the Bronco name. Of course, you're gonna have a forward-facing camera, but I have to zonk it. None of the Broncos have a washer for that forward-facing camera. And if you're gonna go off-roading just like Bill did, you're gonna want a washer. But you'll notice all that great ground clearance. Now I'm gonna have Lori kind of swing around and show you the suspension. So this has the Haas 3.0 suspension. with those reservoirs, Fox Racing. So this is Fox Racing suspension. Notice the lower control arm, the upper control arm, nice durability, and it's going to have plenty of not only ground clearance but also wheel travel, the wheels and tires going up and down as you're off-roading. So that is unique to the Stroppe Edition. If you get a Bronco Wild Track, which is what this is sort of based off of, it comes with Bilstein shock absorbers, so different. Do you get what I'm saying? These are more high performance. Now as we rise up, you're going to get that matte black hood. Love the way you got the bulge, and this looks just like the one that Bill raced in the Baja races. Love that it's actually a twofer. This is going to cut down on glare, but it also gives it that great look. And then this color here, the white, this is Oxford white, a very bright white, much different from the frosted white on the front grille. I know it's probably hard to see on camera, but in person you could see the different hue of white. This is a nice bright white. This is sort of like an off-white. Now as we come around the bend, you got unique wheels and tires. So on the Stroppe Edition, you're going to get these matte black wheels with the gloss black beadlock exterior outer edge. 17-inch wheel, 35-inch tires. So you got the goods, the Goodyear Territory all-terrain tires, and remember, these are technically called Goodyear Wrangler tires, but Ford worked out with Goodyear to not have the Wrangler name on it. That's why it says Goodyear twice. That's a little fun fact. You're going to get all that shield protection, and if you're wondering what is the actual tire size besides it being a 35-inch, 315 on the width, 70 series sidewall, and I really love what they did with the wheel. Good looking wheel. Now, as we rise up, you do have painted fender flares, like the way they went with the nice code orange. A little bit of badging. Of course, you gotta let people know it's the Stroppe Edition. I like the way they put the cactus there. And then you're gonna have those stationary side mirrors. So what I mean by stationary is that when you remove the doors, it's not like a Jeep where you lose, a Jeep Wrangler, where you lose the side mirrors. Mirrors stay here. I like that feature. Up top, you're gonna get the Atlas blue removable roof. So these are the colors. You look at old pictures of Bill Stroppe's Bronco, his racing Broncos, this was the overall color scheme, and that's why this one is the color scheme for the special edition. Now you are gonna get these specific Bronco running boards, which are removable. They're powder coated black with your rock sliders. And then, like I said, this is the only way for 2025 to get the twin turbo V6 in a two-door. If you've been paying attention, previously you could do things like a Wild Track in a two-door, and that got you the twin turbo V6. So if you want a two-door and you don't want to go Bronco Raptor, this is the only way to get it, is to go Stroppe Edition. Now working your way towards the rear, of course we're gonna have locking front diff, locking rear diff, all of that great engineering from off-roading. I love the way they got the Bronco name and the code orange with the Atlas blue pinstriping. This does have the full Sasquatch package that comes standard on the Stroppe Edition. And then as we swing it around back, you do have your spare, gotta have a spare, that full 35-inch Goodyear tire with the flat black and the gloss black B-lock wheel. I love the way, if you come to this side, you got your matte black on the rear cargo door with that black Bronco. And then as we come down, you'll notice that we have our dual black painted tow recovery hooks, and you got your full tow receiver hookup. And then Lori could show off the rear differential, that, like I said, that Fox Racing Haas 3.0 suspension. And I love the Easter eggs. Beneath where you put your license plate, it says it right there, established 1966, baby. But why don't we go ahead, let me know what you think about the exterior in the comment section. We're gonna pop the hood and talk about horsepower. All right, guys, we got the hood popped. You do have a prop rod. I'm not gonna zonk it because the original Bronco had a prop rod, but I am gonna zonk that they don't give you an engine cover. This is a spaghetti mess of hoses, all sorts of wires, cables. What's nice is you could actually see the throttle body right here, the upper intake plenum, and then as Lori comes around, she could show off one of the turbochargers, one of those Garrett turbochargers. There's twin turbos, one on each side. That one's a little easier to see. But what do we have? It's a 2.7 liter twin turbo V6, 330 horsepower, 415 pound-feet of torque. It is bolted to a 10-speed automatic, 0 to 60 in about 6 seconds. Top speed is governed to 106 miles an hour. The Stroppe Edition weighs right at 5,000 pounds. And of course, if you're looking at MPGs, which, I mean, if you're looking for really good MPGs, you're looking at the wrong vehicle, but 17 in the city, 18 on the highway. Remember, that's with 35-inch tires on this thing. But we got the second highest amount of horsepower in a Bronco, because remember, Bronco Raptor is the highest. But remember, we have 2 doors less than the Bronco Raptor. So why don't we go on throttle? Well, we're not ready to go on throttle, but why don't I fire it up, hear what that V6 sounds like, and see it zoom off. All right, guys, we're inside this 2025 Bronco Stroppe Edition. I know you're saying to yourself, well, Joe, I remember Bill Stroppe. 60s and 70s, my dad and I used to go over to the Baja 500 and Baja 1000 and see all the racers and see everybody working on their trucks and off-road vehicles. I kind of like the way they did this special edition, but how much is it? Well, remember, this is the only way to get the 2.7 liter twin turbo with the 2 doors. This is it. MSRP, $78,000. But let's see if the Stroppe is worth the money to the removable door panels. So all flat black plastic. It is mostly hard touch material, but it is going to be easy to keep clean. Around the door handle area, that is soft touch, which is nice. Like the silver door handle there. You got a little bit of that Oxford white from the outside brought to the interior. Soft touch on the armrest, and then you have the code orange in the top portion of that Twinkie net. You can actually take a Sasquatch Yeti can and put it in there with no problem. Now, going from the door panel to the dash, I like the new material that they're putting on the top of the dash. A little bit more of a high-end finish with the code orange stitching. You got your Frosted Flakes white. Nice big old bowl of Frosted Flakes. They're great. Bronco in code orange. You got your oh crap panel with a little bit of code orange. And then as you slide on in, remember, all of these attachment areas, you could put all sorts of GoPro cameras and everything. Love the way you have your 2 USB-Cs mounted up top. And don't forget, we have the B&O premium sound system. And then these sort of like tap switches where you could lock, you could disengage the stabilizer bar. That's another nice piece of technology which is available on the Stroppe Edition, where you're able to get more wheel travel, lock the front diff, the rear diff, or lock both diffs to do your trail turning. Working your way down, 12-inch infotainment system. Same as always with the off-road status, you could scroll through a small cornucopia of information for the off-road pages, zone lighting, whatever you got, they're able to access, you could access it here through this little side screen, or you could go into features, and here's where you have all your goodies. Now, you could throw it in reverse. Backup camera, the resolution could be a little bit better, but it's nice to have the trajectory lines. You got your 360 cam, and of course we have our forward-facing cameras as well. Real knobs and switch gear for your audio controls, dual climate for the AC. You got 3 stages of heated seats, a heated steering wheel, and your start-stop button. They should have made that code orange. That would have been a nice touch. Now down below, you do have another USB-C, a USB-A, and a place for, I would say, $1 million. No, not in cash, in 100-gram bars That was Bill's favorite candy bar, by the way, was the 100-gram bar. I love the way you got your Bronco Stroppe Edition special badge that is actually riveted to the center console. This is going to control your 10-speed automatic. You got the bucking Bronco there. And then, of course, we got the GOAT modes. Go over any terrain. Code orange. You just twist, and I'll show you that when you come to the business side. And you got your 4x4 controls and your hill descent control. 2 cup holders. I wish they would have put the Stroppe Edition here. That would have looked cool. But you do have all your switch gear. Inboard window controls, because you can take the doors off, duh. And then you have your code orange stitching, nice soft touch. Open it up. You could put, I would say, 6 rattlesnake burritos. That was actually Bill's favorite thing to eat when he was racing, was rattlesnake. And there's nothing like a rattlesnake burrito. At least that's what I heard from reading his biography and his autobiography. I read both just to make sure. You also have a 12 volt in there, which is nice. You get like a little small pad heater to heat up your rattlesnake. And then you have the seats, the soft touch, code orange stitching. There's the Bronco badge. I love the way they did the quality. Easy to keep clean. Manual seat controls for the passenger, manual seat controls for the driver. And don't forget, if you don't have enough headroom in here, all these are removable. Plus, if you want to get auxiliary lighting, remember how I was telling you about the rigid driving lights and stuff? You have your auxiliary switches here to wire it all up, which is nice, so you don't have to jerry-rig it. But why don't you go ahead and come over here to the business side. I want to show you where Bill sat once upon a time in this Bronco. All right, guys, business time behind the wheel. I want to show the floorboards because this vehicle has no carpet, and I love that because look, you got a drain plug, so when you're going off-roading in the mud and the water, you could just open that up and let the water dry out, and everything else is that nice rubber material rather than ripping up and ruining carpet. You do have your manual seat controls. They're just fine. That's all you need for an off-road vehicle like this. I'm 6 feet tall, plenty of room in here. And then the steering wheel, the nice leather. I am gonna zonk it. It would be nice if I had some code orange stitching here. And I still don't like the material of the horn button, but I love the way you got the Bronco there, about to kick you right in the back of the head, make you go cross-eyed. I love also the way you have the flat black, and it's this rubber material and all the switch gears, so you could keep that clean. Manual tilting and telescoping steering wheel. And then you have that new 12.3-inch digital gauge cluster. You could put all of your off-road gauges there. Plus, watch when I go into different modes like a video game, man. Love the way that they do the graphics and the amount of different modes you have. The only thing that would have been cool is that if you went, when you go into Baja mode, it should show the Stroppe Edition. But if you look on the infotainment system, when you go into Baja mode, that's your forward-facing camera, and I love the way they have the tire track marks there. That really is cool as you're going 60, 70, 80 miles an hour off-roading. But nice to have all that graphic and the different fonts and colors. Really makes it feel extra special in a Bronco. But overall, the layout is good. I love the way that you have plenty of room. One of the things I want to find out, though, how much room does a backseat passenger have in a Bronco Stroppe Edition? Let's get back there and find out. All right, guys, backseat time in a Stroppe Edition. And even though this is a two-door, it's very impressive just how much room you have. Now, I have the driver's seat exactly where I was sitting. I would prefer if whoever's driving would move the seat up a little bit, but other than that, it's actually quite comfy for short drive experiences. Now, on the back of the seats, you have your Molly, which you can attach all of your different, snap-on LED flashlight, your Leatherman kit. You have a little bit of a cargo net here for your Twinkies, your off-road Twinkies. You even have back here a home power source and 2 USB-Cs, which are nice. And just like up front, no carpet, which means we have the drain plug. Just remember to close it so that you don't get things crawling inside here. That's one of the things about the Baja 500. When you're out there in the desert, lots of tarantulas, scorpions. Can you imagine going 80 miles an hour and a scorpion bites you in the back of the neck? That actually happened to Bill once, but Bill kept going because that's what Bill does. but lots of good room back here. Why don't we go ahead though? Let's get in that cargo area. I want to show you what you could haul besides the mail in this Bronco Stroppe Edition. All right guys, time to get in the cargo area. Before I do, one thing I want to point out is that Haas 3.0 Fox Racing suspension is actually the same suspension that was on the first gen Ford F-150 Raptor. So it really is the suspension goodness that you want to have on a Bronco. But let's see what the cargo goodness is like. So we swing open the door. I love that classic style. You notice all the matte black finish, so it's not wrapped. It's actually painted. This back portion is painted. You're going to be greeted to 22 cubic feet of space. I love the fact that you could easily lift up the rear glass. You got your nice cargo floor liner here with the Bronco on it. Lift it up. You got your full jack system, and you got a place for 2 boxes of off-road Twinkies, so you're good there. These seats are going to fold down, and you could actually just fold down the headrest, which is nice to give you a little bit better visibility, but those fold down. You'll notice the Oxford white on the rollover bar, and then also you have a 12 volt, and you have, let me open that up once again so you can see it, LED lighting with the little Bronco badge there, and the subwoofer for our B&O sound system. But why don't we go ahead, enough chit-chatting, let's go ahead and see how this Stroppe Edition really drives and goes on throttle with that V6. So if you're ready, I'm ready. Strap yourself into the Stroppe and we're gonna go see. All right guys, we left Walker Ford. We're inside this 2025 Bronco Stroppe Edition. And right away, I just love the attitude of this Bronco. The classic racing colors of Bill Stroppe, plus the fact that it's a 2-door with the twin turbo V6. These 2-door Broncos are so easy to turn and make a U-turn in because of how short the wheelbase is. So that's a really nice thing when it comes down to the 2-door Bronco. And it's crazy to think now this is the only way that you can get the V6 in a 2-door. Are you ready? On throttle! So you're gonna have plenty of acceleration. 0 to 60 in about 5.9 seconds. Love the way the suspension is in this Bronco because obviously it's tuned for off-roading, but it really makes a nice, comfortable ride on the road. Getting to the infotainment system well within reach. It's nice to have a little bit of different color in here with that frosted white. And then the new digital gauge cluster, they really banged it out of the park. They knocked it out of the park really well with that. And to even up with, to level up with Jeep, having those stabilizer bar disconnects is really, really advantageous as well, because it's just going to allow so much more suspension articulation. But of course, there's more wind noise, there's more road noise because of the off-road tires, because of all the removable roof panels and door panels and everything else. But it's one of those things, it's a compromise, right? It's what you kind of deal with when you want a vehicle like this. Now there is sound pumped in through the speaker system. The good news is that it's not super obnoxious, which is good. But it is there. It does give it a little bit more of a throaty kind of experience. I think some people will love it, some people maybe won't care, and others will just hate it. But I think it's just fine. It's just the right tone to where it doesn't feel obnoxious. Seats are comfy as heck, which is important for when you're off-roading. Visibility out the front is great, visibility out the back. And like I said, when you're comparing this to a Jeep Wrangler, nice to have the mirrors that stay attached to the door panels. But because of how short this vehicle is, it's a pleasure to maneuver. Whether you're in tight parking situations whether you're in traffic, very easy to drive. Sounds good. It really, really does. It does sound good overall compared to what you would find out of the 4-cylinder turbo. And you got all of that torque, all that horsepower. Obviously, right now we're in 2-wheel drive, but when you're ready to go off-roading, it's all the press of a button. 4 automatic, 4 low, 4 high. And you got your different modes. The only thing I wouldn't like to have seen is if they brought the active exhaust from the Bronco Raptor, just to give you a little bit more sound on the exterior, especially when a vehicle looks like this. I think that would have been a very, very nice touch. So I am gonna zonk that, but other than that, like I said, it drives and rides fantastic. But it drives and rides fantastic in the sense that it's got 35-inch off-road tires. Don't think it's quiet in here. Don't think it's super smooth. It's not. But for what it is, it drives amazing. Much better than a Jeep Wrangler. And the 10-speed is nicely paired with this 2.7-liter EcoBoost engine. That Haas 3.0 suspension doesn't give a bunch of nosedive, doesn't waddle back and forth and wallow. It's nice and really planted, even on the asphalt jungle. But it's nice to see them honor somebody so important in the Bronco history. And I'm just glad to be able to bring it to you, finally, after we brought it to you from the auto shows. So nice to finally get behind the wheel. But we're gonna go ahead, get back to Walker Ford and wrap this up. So I'll see you in a split second. All right, guys, another great day, another hot day, dripping, humid, sweaty day here at Walker Ford, but the sweat and the work was worth it because I got to bring you this all-new special edition, that Stroppe Edition of the 2025 Bronco. We definitely got to thank Frank Walker, Weston Walker, and Tracy for getting us access to this very special vehicle. Let me know what you think. Is this the must-own Bronco for model year 2025? Especially if you want 2 doors and you want that V6 twin turbocharged power. Let me know in the comment section. But if you're new to the channel, you're on your way out, hit that subscribe button. I promise you it's worthwhile. Come back for more. If you are a subscriber, thank you for being part of the Raised Rides family. Got to give it up to Latte Lori. She loves her Broncos, but she also loves her coffee even more. So thank you, Lori, for all that you do. And just like always, guys, I'll see you on the next ride.